Welcome in here on the episode 2 here on Salt Lake City Elks podcast. Bit of a rough one to get started for us. I meant to get this recorded and put out for yesterday, but then due to school and of course then we have Air Mount podcast and everything kind of got delayed. So now it's today and it's right now actually. So anyone that is coming in or of course waiting to be filtering in for sure. I'll be filling out some questions, everything like that later in the show and everything. So no worries in that aspect. To get us started, though, I'm going I'm going to start us off with a real quick last week recap. So that being said, let me go ahead and pull up for last week recap. We had the Chicago Tigers. So in this game, it was a bit of an interesting one to say the least. We of course ended up getting the win, which was huge. That was the big focal point. I said going into that game that I figured it was going to be more defensive, which it ended up, of course, turning out to be with how low and scoring of game as it was. I did also expect it to be more of a Hanley win for us at I believe I said it was going to be 17-6. So what the final score was, I made a comment of thinking it was going to be. It did not turn out to be that. So bit of a poor judgment or misjudgment for me. I felt like we could have handled a lot of things better. I'm going to get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty of everything. But overall, I'm glad we got the win. I'm not happy. I'm definitely not happy about how everything went. But to say the least, we're at least going. We took a step in the right direction, and at least getting the win is just not as big of a step as I was hoping, considering that it was our first RFL official game or my first official RFL coaching game. So glad that we won. Just wish it could have been a bigger win. Um, Starting point, obviously, as you can see, Latavian Worrell right there for you. He had a solid game. I mean, he passed the ball quite well. He was able to get everything done he needed to. He seemed to really control the offense and control the momentum and everything for the most part. We had a few missed throws that were kind of costly in the red zone or even from time to time to pick up some first downs. I know, of course, he's coming in a new system, a new organization, learning this whole new playbook, let alone the whole new wave of this organization. Considering I'm taking over, so it's a bit probably rough for him getting to where he wants to be at the moment. But I'm not really upset by his play. I felt like he really did get the job done when it comes to that, and clearly getting the win, it showed that. He also was able to lead that last drive, which was huge and is something that we've been looking for a quarterback to be able to do. So it's really big, I think, for us to find a guy that can actually do that for us. Considering that Eric Fisher really was a struggling quarterback to do something like that, considering he couldn't make those necessary throws to push the ball down the field as much as we needed. So I was really glad to see him do that or things like that. Going from there, though, Darius Martin had a really solid game on the ground, running the ball consistently in the right direction, running the ball effortlessly at times, picking up some big chunks on the ground. No complaints from him. I felt like our receivers and our tight end definitely helped Latavian Worrell. Shout out to Mason Dunn for getting his first touchdown, almost second, I believe, at one point. But yeah, he did well, tremendously. I expected him to have a big game, or at least get that touchdown and have a solid game. So yeah, that was not a quite surprise to me, but it might have been to other people. I was quite excited to see that. I was quite impressed by the way our offense was able to adapt to any changes, or even since we know how strong of a red zone defense the Tigers are, how they were able to adapt and still focus and play full 4 quarters in a sense, and try to get as many points on the board and make it as tough as possible and tough as possible on them, but as easy as possible on our defense, which is always a huge thing for me to really get into. Um, I'd say my three big takeaways from this game really was the play from the Taven Worrell, that he's ready, like that as he is about that hype and he's about expectation. I feel like he should be able to expectation wise keep that up. Run game and Darius Martin. So I feel like so the both of them. So I'd say just take away from those two alone, and the fact that we're able to pass. We have a passing trusted quarterback. and also we have the reliable run game, which is going to be very beneficial to us. For my third point takeaway, I felt was our allowance of pressure on the quarterback. Good and bad at times. It was very like up and down. Like sometimes we'd have all the time in the world for him, and other times we just didn't give him nowhere near enough time. So it's something I feel like we either gotta look at matchups or just like certain things to be able to pick up on. So it's more beneficial to us when it comes to longer stints in the game or that must need a drive where we're able to protect the quarterback or open up that hole for the running back to run through. So that was definitely a few things that I had. So going off that though, I mean those were my three big takeaways. I feel like from this last game. Now going a bit into, of course, this week's game that we have. We've got the wonderful. We're going out to Houston. We've got an away game, so it was back-to-back away games. We played in Chicago last week. Now we're playing in Houston this week. So definitely a big test. Jacob talked about it on the Airmount podcast just yesterday about how the Gunners have a profound offense. Obviously, they're well-led program behind Jabri Jackson at quarterback, so not much of a surprise there or someone like that. But Jabri can easily get the job done at times and can be the reason why they win, but also lose. So us coming into this game, I would say three uptakes and three downtakes or three things expectation wise I'm hoping to accomplish is just be able to put the pressure on Jabri because I didn't feel like we did a good job of that last week against Chicago Tigers. I felt like we did a terrible job, honestly. I felt like Kai Cash had way too much time to throw in the pocket. That's why he was able to be way more successful against us than he was with Thunderbirds. I felt like we could have done a lot better in coverage at times too, but I feel like it wasn't to the point to where that was the reason what was hurting us. It was more the fact of our coverage broke down because we couldn't get a coverage sack because we just allowed too much time for the quarterback to be able to get a chance and then throw. So I felt like that's something that needs to be looked that we're going to look, of course, into and make sure our matchups are really keying in for getting pressure on the quarterback at all, or just at least helping him contain because we obviously has that dual threat ability. We don't want Jabri to really kill us with his legs or limit him at least in his ability to run. So it keeps him more one-dimensional. So it's easier to focus on what we really truly need to shut down. So yeah. Then another thing would be turnovers. Being able to make sure we win the turnover battle. I've always been a big advocate of winning the turnover battle helps you win football games 100 out of 100 times generally almost. It's just a football team like ours that I know that our offense has progressed in the right direction, has gotten better, and honestly seems to be at its like solid state of putting up points. Whether how much points it is, 3 or 7, is kind of an issue time to time, but at least putting up points is a big thing. So the more chances you get for our offense or so on and everything like that will, of course, lead into more points. It's just common knowledge almost. So if we're able to force more opportunities, force Jabri to make dumb mistakes, or just even their offense, or like limiting, of course, them forcing turnovers on us, it allows us to one hold time of possession, two be able to make sure we're preset and like understanding what's going on and working into the direction we want to get more opportunities for us to just really score the ball or should I say more opportunities to stop them from scoring or less opportunities from having to stop them from scoring and everything, and putting our offense in better position is always the main thing to go after. I was really looking forward to this game. Obviously, as some know, I've talked to Coach Mula or AR many of times on the side before he had been the head coach and during and of course after this past week when they beat the Steamers. So knowing that they're a high-powered offense, I know my expectation of what I need to do. It's just whether or not we're able to get the job done is what it's going to end up coming to. So it really comes down to if our defense can show, okay, this is how we played against a rookie quarterback, Kai Cash. Yeah, we had our lumps. Yeah, we had our struggles. But now we know we did wrong. We know what steps we need to take to fix them, and we know which steps that are needed to be done to contain or limit Jabri Jackson's success. And I feel like if we're able to fill fill those out, we can keep that game super competitive or even come out with a win because it'd be a huge thing, especially on the road, let alone just anything. So like a win's a win. That's what I'm looking for. But at the same time, I'm just trying to look for what I expect is what I expect. So it's just I have high expectations for this team because I know what we were able to do last year with Eric Fisher, but now bringing in Latavian Worrell, I know my expectations have only risen considering that we've been able to bring in a player that can is just a game changer in a sense. So if we're able to do that and hold on, that'd be huge. If not, I mean it is what it is. But like my expectations is obviously always coming out with a win no matter who we play, but especially this week. So um, my score line. I know that it was a 3.5 spread against us. Is the spread this week? I honestly could see it coming down to the fourth quarter in a similar fashion of the Tigers, but more or less competitive through the whole stint. So if it comes down to where we're one score the entire game, I would not be surprised. Uh, it has the potential of destined to be happen. I feel like if our defense is able to stay healthy, stay good rotation like we're planning on, and consistently be able to limit Jabri Jackson's successes on third down like we were able to from time to time last week. Then that's really going to make an impact and really going to make a change for the better. So hoping that. We're able to keep the game close by our defense, and our offense is able to really, push that attack against a newly acquired Dombrowski for the Gunners and just the Gunners team. So I wouldn't say I'm not too worried about our offense going against their defense, but like that's lesser of my focus this week. It's more or less coming back to making sure our defense is more prepared for that offense than it would be for the offense for a defense. So, yeah. Um, my estimated score, considering obviously Gunners did end up putting 31 up against the Steamers and everything like that. I do think that in my expectation that we're able to uh, if we're able to get something going like I think we are, we could end up seeing like a 28-24 or something like that. I don't see it getting out of hand really. Like I can't. It's just hard for me to see a 30 point game just because that's not something we're accustomed to doing or even like seeing against us. Like last year, if I'm not mistaken, there was like two games I think where we allowed like 35 plus points or like 30 something plus points. So like our defense usually isn't accustomed to giving up that stuff. But at the same time, usually we give up a lot more stats wise or yardage where it looks worse than it really is. It just can be frustrating at times, of course, when you're watching as a fan or even as a coach. So making sure that we keep it in check, making sure that when they do get the red zone, we potentially force turnovers will be huge because honestly, I'm not saying I don't mind if Jabri throws for 500 yards against me, but if he only throws one touchdown and has an interception and they have fumbles and stuff, and they've only scored like 14 points, like I cannot, you know what I mean? I can't almost honestly say I'm like completely frustrated at it because obviously we had something going right because we limited their success in the red zone and we forced massive amount of turnovers and forced massive amount of chances for our offense to step up and do something. So it only should put us in a better situation to win. So that's just how I look at it. Um, Really though, coming to this game, like I said, I just don't expect it to be much of a blowout or anything crazy in that sense. It should be pretty competitive, and I'm expecting it to be a one-score game throughout the length of the way. And if anything, it might get a little nasty at the end of the fourth quarter. But really, I do expect it to be a one-score game, and that might be the difference just of a win. So going in off of that now, off of last week and this week, current player updates and personnel changes and everything. We have not had any really personal changes to any really like pickups, any free agency stuff. I've really kept it low key. I feel really confident about our 53-man roster at the moment. I don't really have any problems with any of the guys that we have. I feel like everyone's been able to fill the position. I have made some slight changes in the depth chart that I won't really explain in depth because obviously like someone washes his back or anything because it's before the game time, everything like that. But honestly, I just feel like all the adjustments and the player personnel we have right now is probably going to be the extent of what we carry out through the whole entire season. Of course, bearing injury, which I hope doesn't happen, knocking on wood right here. But like, it's just an expectation of mine is we keep everybody healthy, we keep pushing, we keep the success hopefully going in the right direction, keep taking small steps, big steps, whatever it is, as long as it's in the right direction. Um, I'm not really a big hype man when it comes to overreactions or so on, of maybe of other teams, but not of my own. I'm more or less just wanting to make sure we're working at it because I've always been a big believer in 0.01% improvement. Because if you do that after a while, sooner or later you'll get to where you need to be or get to where you should be. Just keeping things competitive and making sure we're staying in this three-team race at the moment, or four-team race at the moment, but like it should be three-team race at the end of this by the end of the season. So more wins that we get in the beginning of the season will only help us in the mid-season or end of the season mark due to injuries or fatigue or anything we might be facing like that. So quick update because I don't know if some people may know, some people may not. We did have an injury during the game. It was Roy Kincaid. He did, of course, end up wanting to get back in the game and stuff in the fourth quarter. I believe we ended up allowing him a few snaps just to test him because he said he really wanted to. He didn't really feel like he got the X amount of playing time as he wanted, so he was a bit frustrated in that aspect. But coming off of that, we through preparation, time he's had off, being able to like kind of take time off from practice and stuff, and actually really heal up or better himself. He will be, of course, playing in his normal regular role. He seems like he's almost pretty much back at 100%. So that's quite exciting, of course, considering he's a big fundamental piece in our offense. So I'm expecting him to come back, still make that impact, and hopefully, since he's going to be able to play a full game, really show his true talent against a Gunners team this week. Not much else to be said on it. He says he feels good. I have no problem with it. He hasn't really shown any weakness or any really even soreness at all. So it's really been good to see that he hasn't really had any step backs in his health or fatigue due to that partial injury during that quick scare even during the game, because it definitely caught me off guard. But yeah, so that's really the main things for the most part, really injury wise. We didn't have any practice injury, which of course I'm always excited about. I made sure I played all the guys I needed. I made sure I kept us healthy. Really wanted to keep us successful, so or like really in the right direction. So that being said, I don't have anything else for player updates or any personnel changes. Quite exciting in the aspect of not having to worry about injuries at this point at the beginning of the season, because if having to do that, it would be a bit tougher. But yeah. Now going into questions that I pull up for us. We did have a few, of course, press conference questions that I said I would be answering and stuff. If you guys ever want any questions or anything on the show or that you might have, either DM me, really message me of any sorts, Instagram, Discord, anything like that, or even leave a comment on YouTube videos, anything like that. I'll, of course, be back to answer all of them. There wasn't much for us this week to have to answer, but of course, I'll answer the questions that we do have. First one from Noah. Was your offensive strategy executed the way that we wanted to? So I kind of covered an aspect of how we had success. I wasn't fully 100% excited on how we did execute it, because I felt like from time to time we were making dumb, in a sense, situational calls. Like, I understand on 3rd and 2 we had a great success in the pass, but when Darius Martin was able to productively pick up 4 yards, you kind of you're like, okay, and there that even and when you realize they're in a nickel package or something in a pass heavy, you're kind of like, okay, they have weaker personnel out there for this. Why don't, even when we're set up in the shotgun, I'm fine with that off the line, but like, why don't you just hit the hole, try to get it in, and pick up the first down? So really, I was honestly fine with the execution. I didn't feel like there was really big lapse in judgment there, just more or less a few struggles when it came to frustrating play call from time to time. So that's something we don't really have a ton of control over. We just put our team in the best situation to win like that. But yeah, it was kind of frustrating play call wise to have to watch, especially when we would pass it really well and then we wouldn't look to pass it. It was just execution from time to time. But I felt like overall wise, it was really good. Just gotta clean up a few things like necessary passes that need to be hit by Latavian Worrell, balls that have to be caught, like just have to have possession on a few catches that were necessary on third down or something like that. But besides that, didn't really have any major complaints. I felt like overall our offense consistently was trying. Like you could tell they were trying to do something with the ball. It's just maybe they weren't put in the best situation or they didn't execute it properly. And those are things, of course, that we always can look to clean up. When by execute, I mean really have the opportunity to execute because we put them in the wrong situation. Like the situation they were in, we made a bad play call, so they didn't have any chance of executing. That's what I really mean by that. Sorry, but yeah. What are my thoughts on our offensive performance today? Of course, at the beginning, I kind of talked about it. I was really happy. I felt like we have a really solid pass and run game that we showed this past week. I'm really expecting to show that again. I want to show that you can't just focus on one part of our team and expect to shut it down. That is my main thing. I really want to be a team that on offense, I'm like, yeah, our run game's good. Yeah, our run game can get some solid yards. Yeah, our run game can be really reliable, but don't sleep on our pass game. Like our pass game can hit you over the top, deep. We can hit you medium. We can hit you short. We can hit you with play action. We can hit you on the sideline. We can hit you on the number. We can hit you. Was it? We can hit you down just down the middle and everything. I don't want to feel like our team's limited at all. I want to feel like our offense is super functional and multi-dimensional, beneficial and being able to go off in different direction, whichever necessary. I want to, if there's a team that struggles against the run, we just push the run attack. We beat them that way. If there's a team that just struggles against the pass, we do it that way. Or if there's just a team that just purely just struggles on defense, we can just do both, switch it up here and there, and just beat them that way. I've never been a guy that really sticks to one or the other. Of course, I always like running the ball because there's a lot of probability when it comes to throwing interceptions and stuff, unless you have that quarterback you trust, which I feel like we have now. So I don't really have an issue with it now. But yeah, I don't really offensive minded. I mean, I've tried really hard to do my absolute best when it comes to being very open minded to the possibilities, the potential, and the work that we need to put in, from time to time, and being at a high success rate. But at the same time, there's only so much you can do for offense when, of course, I'm not offensive minded. But at the same time, working to just find out what our personnel is really good at. So coming in, it was just a really big focus on what our personnel was going to be able to successfully do versus what our personnel is actually what I'm actually wanting to do with it, making sure I'm not trying to force anything on them, because if I do that, then we'll show at a lower success, because you always want to match out what the personnel is given to you, not at which, of course, the personnel is forcing upon them, because then you run into issues where you're less successful, or you're really doing what you're wanting to, but it's not, of course, getting the job done, or it's not showing the true production that you would expect or would have expected. So. Another that was from Nate Allen, by the way, that question. And then my next question is Jeffrey Colvin, I believe. Do you think the Tigers were able to stop any aspect of the offense you weren't expecting them to? And what did you think your defensive execution by your guys today? Do I feel like the Tigers were able to stop any aspect of our offense? I wasn't expecting to. Of course, I expected them to be really good in the red zone. I knew that because I've watched them from time to time. I've watched them this year, and then of course I watched them last year too. So playing them this year, I knew what to expect when it came to the defense. Of course, fluctuating not expectation wise and what moves they've made, of course, in the draft or this offseason, stuff like that. But really, I knew they were strong in the red zone, so I knew that was going to be a thing, a focal point of when we get in the red zone. At least, okay, we're here. I would love to capitalize on 7 points every time, but realistically, that's probably not going to happen. So making sure we don't turn that ball over, because that's something they can be really good at. So making sure that we didn't do that, and we didn't. So being able to get those 3 points at least and stuff like that, that was a big thing. I felt like overall wise, running and passing, I didn't feel like there was really too much frustration when it come to what we were expecting and what they were able to stop. I felt like they did a really good job against us on third down a few times that I wasn't expecting. I guess like we were able to pick up some, but I felt like a few of our drives we kind of hurt ourselves, whether it was just terrible play calling or just filling like the obligations of the positional awareness, like from time to time plays, like when we were running the ball, we didn't get the blockers out in time, or the blocker didn't pick up the right guy or the right assignment, and then it just kind of functionally fell apart. And that was more of on us rather than it was on them. But at the same time, they were able to notice like what we did wrong. They were able to execute that properly, and it was a good play for them. So like all props to them and being able to keep this game closer than of course I was expecting. But at the same time, I felt like overall I was happy with our offensive performance. I would have loved to obviously put more points up on the board considering how they played last week. But at the same time, I don't have major complaints on the game that was at hand, and just really, I guess it was just more. I was more sought out of thinking that we were going to be able to get a bigger win or a stronger showing overall wise out of our defense, considering that how many points we let up. But it is what it is. What I can say, and we learned what we learned last week. We got to see from personnel wise how everything's matching up with all of the new pickups for agency wise. I mean, we've got three I believe new linebackers, 3 or 4 that are coming in, really making like some decently like impactful positional like snaps. We've got like a corner or two as well. We got a completely new safety starting for us, Connor Baker, of course Deshaun Abass, of course, and then our defensive line really stayed the same. We really just brought in one guy in Blair Fugger, but or Fugger, either one. But yeah, there's so we made a lot of changes on defense, which I feel like may have made a slight hindrance compared to how our defense performed last year. But I'm not expecting for it to continually show like that. And now going in this part two of that question, what did I think about the defensive execution for us? I felt like it was good. Of course, I was upset by the amount of points. Like I said, we lit up, but I don't have major issues with understanding situationally wise what happened. Like we're not in a situation that I can just be we're shutting every team down. We're shutting everybody out. That's just not realistic as much as I want to do that. So in my mind, my expectation was, of course, to keep them to 6 points, 2 field goals and stuff, because I felt like they were good. Their offense is a good enough offense off of Bryce Madden and Kai Cash and the receiving stuff to get production against us. I really did. I knew that I definitely have the opportunity a few times to get in the red zone or even the 40-yard line to get in the opportunity like this, like the spot to kick for a field goal. I know they did take that one long field goal, which was questionable, that we were able to capitalize then on that field position. But really, I didn't think our defense did a terrible job in executing what I planned out for them. The main thing really was just frustration. When I was sitting there watching Kai Cash just be able to sit there longer than I felt like necessary to throw that ball. So I felt like my main issue or my main thing that I'm upset about was not helping our DBs out when they were playing good, and then the times that they were playing like they weren't playing good, we weren't helping them out either. So even no matter how well we played in coverage, our defensive line all the time wasn't able to get pressure as much as I wanted or even hurry up the quarterback. So I felt like he was sitting back there from time to time with 4 or 5 seconds to throw, and that's just unreasonable. Sorry, but yeah, it's just you can't win football games when you let a quarterback sit back there that long. Not to discredit Kai Cash on how he was able to perform, but if that's a different quarterback or a better quarterback because he's a rookie, he just doesn't have the experience yet, or hasn't been able to have the chance for productivity to show that or really improve on his game yet. If that's a guy like Ben Wakefield or, of course, a guy like Gidley for the Snowhawks, like one of the guys in our division, never say the less, um, like they beat us. They probably like put up a good 28 points against us at least with the amount of time that we give them, like let them throw. So that's something we got to look into. That's either whether or not that's matchup issues that I clearly overthought and thought that we could get production out of, or it was missed assignments that I had put out there. I didn't feel like I really put us in a bad situation to get pressure, to not be able to get pressure on the quarterback. But it might have ran into a bit of an issue of fatigue and not having their rotation set up properly. So I might be able to take a little hindrance on that. But besides that, I felt like we did really good on defense. I felt like our DBs, especially how young and inexperienced they are to our playbook or even the pro style game or speed, I felt like they did a really good job for us. I was happy to see that Connor Baker was able to get, of course, that fumble recovery that Garrison Ash was laid out there, I believe. But yeah, a few good plays from our DBs, making sure they're, of course, going in the right uptrend. It's always progression to get better and stuff, or proven to get better. So yeah, not much of complaints though on the defense. Just need to improve our pressure overall. So yeah. Besides that, I guess go into season expectations, which will be our last recovering thing after these questions that really just break up and finish this. I don't feel like season expectations has changed. Um, a bit frustrating of how we played against the Tigers, but I don't have any complaints or real problems, to say the least, on how we ended up performing. It was just more or less I was expecting us to control the game a little bit more our style or more in our speed than we ended up doing. So it was a little frustrating to see the score line the way it was. Happy, of course, about the win. No complaints about there, but just felt like we deserved we really deserved to lose that game the way we ended up playing in our defensive end from time to time. But at the same time, our offense did their absolute best to keep us in the game, and of course, they put us in the situation to win that game. So, yeah, if we're able to make the adjustments and the changes necessary, I feel like our team should be a lot more competitive, and they're going to keep that way. And my expectations are still pushing for the division, still going back to back. It's of course going to be tough as crap to get done, but yeah, I really think that we can get it done. I have high faith in us, and I have high expectations as always for us. So I hope to see you guys all at the game this week. I of course have a wonderful, nice little graphic I'll be posting and stuff for us on our page at the Elks account on Instagram and Twitter. But yeah, this Saturday, 22nd, don't be there, 4 p.m. Eastern against the Houston Gunners. It'll be one of the two games that are playing at that time. So I appreciate everyone who shows out. If you have, of course, any questions that you want to relay to me or anything like that, feel free with doing so. Um, whether it's social media, Discord, or even on this YouTube video, much would be appreciated. And I hope you guys all are doing well, having a wonderful week, and we'll be up for another episode next week. So thanks.